Good afternoon guys, Dark Purple Shadow here, and today I'm just doing a quick check-in about the progress I'm making in my current rapid fat loss journey, and I just want to give you guys something to look forward to, something regular I can talk about. And let's just start getting into the progress I've made so far. So I'm 22 days into this rapid fat loss phase and I've already lost around 7 kilos. It hasn't been a perfect straight line. Some fluctuations have happened, but overall it's been a consistent downward trend, which is all I can hope for. I'm approaching the lightest I've been in about 4 years. Right now I'm flirting with around 110 kgs. Once I break that, I want to get down to 105 kgs, which is the next checkpoint, and essentially I'm just trying to progress day by day, week by week. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This diet is not fun. It's not exciting. This is an intervention. The food is bland, repetitive, and to be honest, I wouldn't say I'm starving or anything, but I am not enjoying what I'm eating. But that's the point. I'm not here for luxury. I'm here for results. Originally, I had planned a refeed for today, but plans change and I've got a weekend trip coming up. So instead of a clean refeed, I'll be eating normally for a couple days. What normally means is I'll be going for maybe maintenance, maybe a little bit over, just focusing on carbohydrates, essential kind of vegetable stuff like that. Still getting my protein in, but basically just looser tracking, giving myself a bit of leeway. Because I'll be honest, I ain't going to be able to do RFL when I'm away from my own kitchen, because if I'm not preparing my own food, I ain't going to be able to eat, just raw chicken out in the middle of nowhere. It's not going to happen. How am I feeling? In terms of feelings, I'm not feeling any cravings, like I've said. In fact, I'm more kind of feeling a bit grossed out by what I'm eating on a day to day. The idea of eating doesn't really excite me until I start doing it. And electrolyte wise, I've noticed that I did have probably some deficiencies in potassium, which is a big mistake, which is something I've now rectified. Because actually the rapid fat loss plan itself does mandate that you make sure electrolytes are higher than usual, because you're eating such less food, you're getting less of it passively through what you eat. So essentially you have to top yourself up to make sure that you're in a good place to function mentally and physically. And a bit of a twist in doing that is because I've started to just taking electrolytes, I feel like my scale weight will be a bit different for a few days, go up and down a bit more, because you retain a little bit of water when you take in electrolytes. That's just how it works. Basic science, osmosis and that. Anyway, the way I frame this mentality thing is simply from a perspective of, this is a long campaign. I'm basically at the start of the first phase of a very long campaign. I'm fighting multiple little wars in my head. And in this war, the first kind of main battle requires me to do a massive Hail Mary push to the higher ground, which is 100 kilos. Once I get to 100 kilos, then I can work my way down. And every kilo lost beyond 100 kilos is a victory in itself. And I'll be honest, although I will still be obese on paper, I think I will look a lot more healthier and a lot more sensible at 100 kilos than how I look now. I will, dare I say, look relatively normal. Hopefully I won't even look like a fat guy. I'll look like a guy who just goes gym and eats a lot, but we'll get to that point later. I've started measuring my waist, which is 44 inches at the widest point of my belly. I think I'm around an inch, maybe 2 inches down since I've started. But I do remember when I was almost 130 kilos, I remember my waist being around 50 inches. Basically, I had a 50-inch belly, which is absolutely insane. No excuse for that. I think I should get down to around 40 inches when I'm around 100 kilos, which is still not ideal. But like I said, it's a much better position to be in than I am in today. I've also noticed my face is a lot less puffy. My arms are starting to get a lot more leaner. They feel harder and less jiggly. I don't really carry much fat on my arms as it is, but I've started to lose fat from there anyway. So my initial bloated look is vanishing a bit. I'm just kind of looking a bit deflated and I'm kind of lowering in size. And that's just how fat loss happens when you're as fat as I am. You don't really look leaner, you just kind of look smaller and a bit more different. And unfortunately, losing fat is an activity where you have to almost lose all your glycogen, lose all your water, and then you can start losing fat. That's just how the body loses fat. It's like you've got to deflate a balloon before you pull all the water out of it. You kind of look a bit worse before you start looking a bit better. When it comes to diet, it's basic stuff: chicken, fish, spinach, low calorie vegetables like green beans, broccoli, stuff like that. I haven't had broccoli so far actually. I'm definitely going to buy some at some point. And egg whites. Nothing fancy, nothing exciting. I can make protein pancakes with the egg whites and some whey protein occasionally. Feels like a bit of a treat. I do have some small amounts of Greek yogurt, which again is not super advised. It's not basically the gold standard for rapid fat loss because it does have a good amount of carbohydrates underneath it. But I do have a limited amount which keeps my carbohydrates below the kind of ceiling, which is around 30-40 grams of carbohydrates. So I'm not too fussed about that. And in reality, if I'm like 95% compliant, that's still 95% better than being overweight and eating whatever the hell I want. So it's not really, I don't need to be perfect to get good kind of benefits from this. In the gym, this is where things have started to really amp up. My workouts have not been amazing. I've had like 2 or 3 workouts. They're very low volume. I'm kind of doing a couple of basic compound movements, squats, bench, machine work. That's very, very focused on the bigger muscle groups in the body. I'm definitely not as strong as I was when I ate what I wanted, which is understandable, but I'm just fighting to maintain my strength. The strength loss isn't really to do with the diet itself. It's simply because I've only started going gym properly again since I've started this diet. I've always found that this is a trend with me throughout my entire life. I usually get super strong when I'm in caloric deficits, not because the caloric deficits makes you stronger. It's because when I'm mentally focused on losing weight, I usually train more effectively during that time period. So it's almost like there's a correlation but not a causation there, if you know what I'm saying. And it's just motivating to know that I'm gonna be in a better position than I am today in about a year's time or in about a month's time, and I'm just gonna keep working towards it. It motivates me seeing how many people are out of shape out there, because for me in a way is I'm just gonna get so much better than average, and that kind of makes me feel in a good position. And I was just reflecting on the situation I'm in currently, and after COVID, the way I ballooned, worst shape of my life. There's no excuse for it. I probably did some real damage to my health, maybe even had some pre-diabetes, some massive issues with blood pressure that I didn't even know about. But I'm still at a young age and nothing was diagnosed. I was still relatively healthy, but let's be honest, being obese in itself, you don't need a diagnosis to know that's bad. But I'm very, very aware that I'm still at a young age. I'm in my very early 30s, so I'm at an age where I can fix all of this damage. And I know I can do it because I've spent most of my adult life not being obese, and I can return to that state. And I'm doing it with a vengeance and some real force of kind of will. It's not about regaining any kind of vanity or whatever. It's about regaining power, self-respect, and clarity. And you know what? I haven't really raided the fridge for snacks. My wife's chocolate bar is still there weeks after she bought it, which is a bit of a minor miracle. That's not really happened anytime in the last 3 years. So yeah, 22 days in, 7 kilos down, mindset locked in, weekend refeed coming, and I'm not stopping anytime soon. I feel like, when a train starts to move those old school locomotives and slowly they chug and they chug and they chug and the wheels start to clatter and clatter and clatter. Then they reach a critical mass of kind of force and power and, pure, torque going forwards. That's where I feel I'm at. I'm at a point where I'm really building up this momentum. And I want to keep doing it. And what I do also want to know is if you're in a fitness journey and you're undergoing something right now, if you're planning to, or if I've motivated you in some way, or if you're invested in the kind of steps I'm taking, tell me what you think, tell me how you're feeling, and I'll check again soon with you guys, hopefully from a much lighter body weight. Let's go, guys. Let's keep improving, and let's keep using games to keep us from binge eating. You know what I'm saying? Let's try and make this positive. Peace.